Welcome to Rising Woman Leaders. I'm your host, Meredith Ram, and I believe the time has come for women to share their gifts, their voice, and their stories. I love seeing women spiritually and financially empowered, thriving in their life's work, and doing what they love every day. I've gathered a community of women living their dreams to tell us their stories and inspire us to step into more courage, self-love, and feminine leadership. If you like this podcast, follow me on Instagram at Rising Woman Leaders and sign up for email updates at risingwomanleaders.com. Now get cozy with a journal and a cup of tea. I hope you enjoy today's show. I'm here today with Jedaya Barboza, who is a devotional priestess of the goddess. She has dedicated her life to walking the footsteps of the goddess with every breath she inhales, offering the gift of the sacred red rose to women and serving the goddess however she calls for her to show up. She is an initiated priestess of the women's mysteries, a midwife of the veils, holding a safe container for women and sisters of all colors to birth their full essence and to enter their queendom. She has been the midwife of her own rebirth and has heard the calling to midwife other women's rebirth all over the world. Jedaya was reborn to create change by inspiring, empowering, and co-creating a world of healthy spiritual transformation through art, connection, sensuality, movement, breath, and music. Thanks for being here, Jedaya.
Thank you so much, Meredith, for that introduction.
Yeah, it's lovely to have you. And we connected on Instagram, which is the platform that I love. And I just really felt a real soul resonance when I found you. And it's just so sweet how sometimes we connect with people and we've never spoken to them or talked to them, and it's just there's something there, and I always just like to follow that. And yeah, I'm grateful to have you here.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for technology and for this huge platform, all light workers connected in this space, weaving the web.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for that.
And I would love to start with just asking you about your journey of rebirth. And I know that this is something you help other women with. So what was that like for you? What were you like growing up compared to how you are now? What was that moment of like change and catalyst for you? I'd love to just start with that.
Yeah, when I first came into this world, I was very free. Like a child, when a child paints or creates, they just create and they need no explanation for what they are creating. And that was me, very happy-go-lucky. I remember in elementary school, I would get in trouble a lot for laughing, and my teacher was from the Caribbean, and he was very serious, and he would say, Jedaya, you need to be serious, stop laughing, life is serious, life is not a game. And I just remember like finding that very funny, like this guy needs to lighten up a bit. And I feel that I've been that way for a very long time, and I've always channeled the light a lot, and by the time I hit my teen years, I discovered the underworld is what I like to call it, and the shadow self, and I started entering into that, stripping away all of my layers of self, and I feel that I am now in a place where I have balanced both the dark and the light within me. And it's the journey of humans, and especially for women as well. So I like to see myself as a guide for women, since I've been there, and there's so many women that are needing that help. Yeah, so I give my service to humanity and into the divine feminine rising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And was there a moment for you that kind of pulled you out of the darkness, or when you started to find information about women's mysteries, or even the word goddess? Or was that always part of your life, or was that something that you found later?
Yeah, so I remember when I was younger, I would look at my mom and I'd call her queen.
Mm.
And the word goddess came to me when I was 22 years old. And I remember feeling her presence when I was traveling in Costa Rica. And I went to Punta Mona, which is in the Caribbean side. This is Stephen Brooks and his partner, the village witch, Sarah Wu's little community. And I did a jungle camp experience there. And I believe this was like in 2016. And just one day I was just walking in the jungle naked, and it was dark outside, and I didn't have a flashlight with me, and I was just maneuvering through the jungle, and the full moon was out, and I felt like Kali Ma was behind me and within me and in front of me and at my side, and channeling her, she was just destroying everything like in my life at that moment. After that experience in the jungle of Costa Rica, I moved to Ashland, Oregon, and began working there. When my first day in Ashland, Oregon, a goddess came to me and reminded me of the goddess. Her name is Grael Corsini, and she is a co-founder of the Goddess Temple of Ashland, Oregon. And I call her my sister, my mentor, and my guide, my teacher. She comes a lot to me in my dream time now. She's very witchy. And she helped me to remember the goddess. And when I first met her, she looked at me and she said, "How old are you?" And I said, "I'm 22 years old." And she said, that is the day of the Magda. That is the day of she. Do you know about Mary Magdalene? And I said, "Yes, I do. I do know about Mary Magdalene." I was raised Catholic, and I remember I would look into the Bible and I would look for her name, and her name wasn't very mentioned a lot in the Bible, and I remember being really upset about that. Like, I wish there was more information about her. And after that meeting with Grael Corsini, I began doing my own research of Magdalene and her story, and more journey work with the goddess and with that word, that powerful word, just within me now. And yeah, so it hasn't always been prevalent in my life, but I'm so happy that it is now in this moment. And that she came back to me. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know that 22 was a number in relation to her. And I as well, that was when I was having my awakening, was 22, and moved to California at that time, and
wow.
found Amma, and then went to India and opened up so many doors in the path of meditation and yoga and spirituality. And yeah, that's really interesting.
Wow.
Yes, and I've done podcasts before on Mary Magdalene, so our audience has some familiarity, and I have learned as well, like, that her name was really taken out of those Bible stories, and just how that was a real, like, right, well, at least what's happening right now is a real reclaiming of her name, a reclaiming of the divine feminine in these ancient stories, and her story coming through in channeled ways to so many different people, and so many different people feeling that connection to her and that calling to rise and to support and to awaken. Is there anything else you want to say just about Mary Magdalene or your connection to her?
Mary Magdalene, she speaks to me a lot, and she's very loud. She wants for more women to remember to remember her, and she also wants for women to understand her story, and to also know that she is associated with Christianity, but that doesn't mean that you have to be Christian to channel her, to talk to her, to work with her, and to use her as a guide. And she offers the gift of the sacred red rose, and she wants women to remember the symbol of the rose. And the symbol of the rose is of the divine feminine. She is sensual, she is beautiful, and she is admired by so many. And she also wants for women to understand their boundaries as well. And I feel that working with my womb and the wisdom of my womb, and with Mary Magdalene as my guide, she helps me on so many levels, with forgiveness and with self-acceptance and with self-love and self-care, and just entering back into the heart space. Unconditional love. Yeah. Yeah.
Could you tell us a little about your story with your womb and your relationship with your womb? And even, I think this could be helpful for people if they don't have any connection with their womb, like how to start, and what does that look like, and what have you learned in that whole realm of connecting with the womb?
Yeah. So when I first heard the word womb, I didn't even know that it was a real word. And yeah, a sister was talking to me, and she kept saying the word womb. And I said, "What do you mean, womb? What is womb?" And she says, "Well, think of the mother. You come out of her belly. We call this the womb. And she is also our home. This is Mother Earth. We walk on her womb every day." And so I was very disconnected to my womb. And as soon as I started speaking to her directly, I would hear her open up to me, and I would hear her even more clearly. And so what that looked like for me is just tuning into her, waking up in the grand awakening. I don't like to say morning, because I like to say grand awakening. So in the early rising, I wake up and I just put my hands on my womb, and I just talk to her, and I ask her questions, what she needs, how can I give her more love, what does she need, what does she not need, and she speaks to me. And I feel that within every womb, there's a voice. And so just by sinking into your own womb space and asking her questions and giving her all that love and, hearing her, you can activate her and listen to her more. Also, I started this practice of Yoni Steaming. And Yoni Steaming consists of sitting over a steaming hot pot of water and herbs, and as soon as I started doing this, I made this a part of my daily routine, my ritual, and I meditated with the goddess Mary Magdalene and with Aset, Isis, within each of my steaming sessions. And I would also practice womb clearing. So as the steam is rising and is penetrating my womb and is helping me to clear out, I'm also setting that intention of what exactly am I clearing out? All of these emotional attachments that I have to previous lovers or to just situations that my womb is holding on to, that memory. Making that conscious decision to clear that out as I steam, to make more room for my soul and more room for the voice of the womb to so that I can hear it more clearly. I feel what helped me to learn more about my needs and my wants as a woman, and to then voice that, especially when it comes to my beloved, and I feel that even if a woman feels that feels disconnected from her womb space, she can always enter that again. She can always remember that or tune into that by just talking to her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Powerful. Creating that as a daily practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so many practices, and rituals to open up to that world. And there's so many now, and different yoni cure exercises.
Yeah. And I heard that the Yoni steams can be really powerful for women who are having physical symptoms, like maybe not having a period, or
Right.
all different kind, PCOS, like different kinds of ailments or diagnoses, or cervical dysplasia. Like there are different things that Yoni steams can support or help with, or at least begin that health journey.
Yeah.
Can you share, just for anyone out there, like if this is totally new and unfamiliar, like where to start, and what would be some of the herbs even that you use, or just anything about the process to, if people want to try it?
Yeah. So the first thing that I tell women is that steaming the yoni is a powerful ancient remedy that has been used for centuries by women worldwide to support deep wellness and fast results. Women are experiencing, like you said, so many different issues within that space, within the womb space. And I've seen so many positive results with my sisters that I share this with. Sisters that have had missing periods for almost 3 years, and it comes back with just one steam. So it's amazing. And our ancestors have been using this for centuries. And it was first used by doulas and midwives in the red tent, for women going through postpartum. So women after giving birth would steam their yonis with their midwives and doulas. And so yoni steaming, the benefits of yoni steaming, endless. Eliminating cramps and clearing up bacteria, yeast infections, draining cysts, even miscarriage recovery. The list goes on. And the herbs that I like to use, one I call the gentle cycle. So this is a blend that any woman can use. Women that are not experiencing short cycles, however, and that consists of rose petals and lavender, white sage, and basil, and mugwort. You do want to check if you are allergic to any of these herbs, though, because it can cause irritation or lead to miscarriage, depending on if you're allergic or not. Yes, and I also have a video on YouTube describing how to do it from home, how to give yourself a Yoni Steaming session at home in privacy of your own home. And I can also send you that link too. It's very easy though. There's not much work that goes into it. And I love it because of that. And I like to set up an altar as I Yoni steam, and I like to get my crystals out, crystals that will best support me during that practice, and just meditate with the goddess over just a steaming hot pot of water and herbs. And I'm pretty fancy. I have a Yoni steaming box that I sit on, and it's made out of wood, and the top of the box opens and it has a hole in the center of it so that you can put your pot inside and sit on the box. And I like to also wrap myself with a cloak. And you don't necessarily need a cloak to wrap yourself up with, depending on your needs. If you're experiencing hot flashes, if you're an elderly woman, you wouldn't even need a cloak. You can just do it without one. But if you're not, you can use a towel or a robe. Just get comfortable, and you want to trap the heat in, and that's why I use a cloak to trap the heat and to create more heat to rise, to be able to penetrate my womb. And yeah, and I like to say a mild session is between 20 to 30 minutes. However, if a woman is experiencing advanced issues, she may want to steam longer. And I would say between 30 to 45 minutes is safe. But however, yeah, sometimes I can only steam for 10 to 15 minutes, and that's fine too, depending on if I'm busy that day and I just want a quick steam. I make it, my duty to do that for myself and for my self-love and for my self-care, and just, I'll set the timer to 10 to 15 minutes, and I'll do a quick session, and then I'll go on about my day, feeling really good. But my favorite way to steam is at night, right before bed, and I steam for about 20 to 30 minutes, and I'll pull some cards out of my Magdalene Oracle deck or the Divine Feminine Oracle deck, and we'll just meditate and listen to music and go straight to sleep after, like a baby.
It's such a nourishing practice.
Yeah, it's so nourishing.
Is there anything that you noticed in your physical health when you started to do this? Any shifts and changes?
Yeah. So before I started steaming, I would experience bacterial vaginosis on and off, and also yeast infections. And when I started Yoni steaming, I noticed the change of my all of those symptoms just leaving my body, and I would actually see like white globs of mucus in the pot. And so that to me was a clear sign that this is actually helping. And a lot of my doctors were prescribing me antibiotics, and I felt that with the antibiotics that they were giving me, my symptoms seemed as if they were getting worse, actually. And so a sister that I knew for a while recommended steaming to me, and I saw like just fast results after that, with like the signs in the bowl. So yeah, and just working with women and sharing this gift to them, and talking to them and hearing their results, and just feeling and knowing that this is a powerful remedy for all of us, and that we can definitely utilize this practice. And it's, when I think of it, I think of alchemy, earth, air, fire, and water, and using the medicine that Mother Gaia gives us and offers us. She wants us to come back home, she says. And she says that we have everything. We have everything we need to live in perfect harmony and alignment. We have everything we need to thrive and to feel healthy and to feel whole. And she offers that to us. And there's so much medicine in the woods and on her belly that we can use. And knowing that they can help us and they can support us in that way, in healing our bodies. And so I love working with the plants. I love the plants so much.
Wow, beautiful. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I'm inspired to I've done the practice a few times, but to bring it more into my life and to see how that affects just my results, my connection to that space.
Yeah. I support you, sister. I definitely do.
Thank you. And what is your thoughts on just connecting with the cycles of the moon when it comes to our womb, and what do you notice about that, and share with your clients or people that you work with?
Yeah, so as I was told, all women used to bleed together on the dark moon, and that was way back when we didn't have any light pollution. And so all women would come together in the red tent and would share stories and sing songs. And now we are cycling back into that. And I feel that not all of us our bodies are in sync with that, of which our ancestors were all synced together. So some of us are bleeding on the full moon, some of us are bleeding on the new moon. Right now, I am cycling with a full moon. And so I bleed with the full moon, and I shed. And I like to chart my cycles so that I know when I'm ovulating, when I'm bleeding, when I'm going into that time of introspection, and when I have the energy to move forward and to get work done and to be social, and when not to be. And so, yeah, so when you're bleeding with a full moon, for women that are bleeding with a full moon, I experience being very outgoing, more than tuning inward. I'm able to still be social with people, and still I have so much energy, and I find myself like creating so much while I'm shedding, and And then I move into the little phase, which I like to call the enchantress, the wild goddess. She's very dynamic, and she sits in between the woman's inner summer and the woman's inner winter. And she's like my favorite. So dynamic. And I actually prefer bleeding with the dark moon because I get that time of rest, and because I am shedding, and because I love the sense of becoming and embodying the sage, the crone woman, and just going inward and tuning in with that dark moon energy and knowing that I'm synced with her, and that we are on the same cycle. And then moving after that into the maiden energy, and she has so much energy and she's so youthful, and she reminds me of spring. And I definitely love reminding women of those inner seasons and of that cycle. And when we are aware of our own cycle, we're able to voice to our partners, to our family members, to our friends, like, hey, like right now I'm not feeling that, and it's because of this. Like, I'm in this season right now, so I'm going to need some space. I'm going inwards. This is my time of introspection, and I would love for you to honor that space that I need, and to really support me through that. Yeah, I remember when I would blame the moon a lot when I was younger. Like, oh, like right now, like, I'm bleeding and it's like the moon's fault. And like, no one, when you're telling someone that, they don't really understand what you're talking about, And so when you become more aware of that, of the language of her and how she moves and what she needs during that cycle, you can best communicate that with someone else, who doesn't really understand that, especially a man, who doesn't know the moon and her cycles and what she's shedding, what she's releasing, and what she's coming into. And so, yeah, I love reminding myself of that too, because sometimes I even fall out of sync with the moon. And when I realize that I'm not doing that, I go right back to it. Like, all right, what's today? Like, what cycle am I in right now? Like, why am I feeling this way? Well, of course, I'm in my inward season. Right. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Thank you so much for holding that space for me to share that, because I feel that it's an incredible, powerful medicine to be shared, for women, reminding themselves that they are embodiments of the moon and of her seasons, and that she cycles. That's my favorite part about being a woman, is that I have the moon right in my womb space. Yeah.
We're constantly in that shift and change and going through that cycle. So it's really powerful when we can see where we are in it and connect to that different phase and allow ourselves, like, to go deep into the rest, or to go out and be in the world, or whatever is being called for.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And also, when I think about the sun, I mean, the sun goes through cycles too, but when I see the sun, I see it, and it's there, and it's so grounding, and it's just so direct, and that is masculine to me. And the moon is constantly, like, you see her cycle. She's waning, and she's waxing, and she's full, and she's not. And that's the ebb and flow of women. And so in divine union, how can you best hold your partner, your beloved, when she is so ever changing, and being that rock for her, being so grounded and so supported, in that constant wave of ebbing and flowing.
Are there any other practices that you recommend or want to share just around relating to the womb?
I like to create new moon and full moon ceremonies for me. So we just had a full moon, right? Yesterday. And my full moon ritual consisted of me just reorganizing my altar that is outside. I'm looking at it right now, and I created this crystal grid, and as I was creating it, I was setting intentions of what I wanted to be illuminated in this time. And I feel that when I do that for myself, when I make the time to do that practice and to do that ritual, I remind myself of what cycle I'm in, and I am relating to the moon and that energy. And so as I do this, as I move with the moon, and as I move with the new moon as well, who is experiencing the dark, I call her the dark goddess, the inward, the winter. I like to embody that, and I like to write into my journal, and I like to sketch out the dark moon, and what season I'm in, and just recording that information in my journal really helps me, because I can always go back and remind myself, like, oh, okay, like I was in the new moon phase that day, and I was, in my cycle 25-day cycle, and I have that all charted down and recorded. And I feel that helps me, and I know that helps a lot of women. So there's a woman out there that feels called to do that, just recording and performing those rituals on those moon days to help her to track her cycle, and to also remind herself how she was feeling that day, what came through to her, what she was downloading or channeling. And I would like to share that.
Thank you. Yeah, and anything you're excited about in your business or that you're offering right now that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Yes, I am so excited to share that. So I just had a wild women retreat with a sister of mine. Her name is Jacqueline, and we co-created this retreat in Maine right before I left Massachusetts to come out here in California. And as I was setting up my altar last night with the full moon, I felt the presence of Isis and Aset, and they both came out of the Divine Feminine Oracle deck that I have, and they're on my altar now. And I feel so excited, because now that I've been tuning in more to my guides and to that lineage, I feel more called. I feel called to keep doing that, work, and to keep offering that gift of the sacred red rose and of alchemy to goddesses that I work with. And I'm super excited about that. And so I'm here in California, and I am offering one-on-one rose womb activations. And what we're talking about here in this podcast of Yoni Steaming, juicy Yoni Steaming rituals, and moon wisdom, womb wisdom, and what the rose can bring into your life is what I'm offering to women while I'm here in California and moving forward in my life. And so I'm super excited about that. And I feel that has helped me on my path. And I know that there's someone out there that wants to deeply connect to her own womb wisdom and would love a guide, and I'm here to offer that support and that space to do that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for listening to this call and for sharing this work. And I wonder if you just have any closing words before I say a prayer to end our conversation today.
Yes, I am sitting here and I'm basking in the sun, and I want to give you so much love, sister, and gratitude for this opportunity to connect with me in this way. And I see you and I feel you and what you're creating and birthing into the world. And I'm super excited for you and to just witness you. And I feel the goddess. She's smiling and she's dancing and she's singing, Meredith, Jedaya, good work, sisters. Yes, she sings that she loves us so deeply and she smiles upon us. So I bow to you and I honor you, and I want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing to spread this medicine, this magic. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jedaya. Glad we connected and had this time today. So I will just close my eyes and invite you and our listeners to just tune into our heart space, to take a deep breath in, just feeling all the wisdom that was shared today, anything that wants to be brought into your path, any personal practices you want to take with you, any connecting, listening to the voice of your womb, just holding that all in our heart, in our womb space, and feeling whatever it is wants to be born or created from that space of really tuning in, nurturing, loving, listening to our bodies. So I will bring my hands to my heart with gratitude for you, Jedaya, and your work, and for everyone here listening and showing up on their own path of healing. Namaste.
Namaste, sister.
Thanks so much for taking the time to listen to our show today. We would love to hear what you think. Take a moment to hop on over to iTunes and leave us a review. We'd be so grateful to receive it. Until next time, namaste.